I love keyboards and synthesizers. All my favorite songs feature the sounds created by these wonderful machines. But I think unless you're a keyboardist, you really don't give the keyboard a second look when they're on stage or in a music video. And that's particularly true these days with modern keyboards. However, after looking into building some, it was quite apparent that the classic synths of the 70s and 80s really did have such an interesting look. The history and technology of them is so special too. Keyboards are quite blocky, so they would lend themselves well to be recreated in Lego. There are a few custom builds on the internet, and one set of models that really inspired me was by Andy Groppengieser. Links below. I love the way he used the white grills as the piano keys. The scale of all these models is calculated roughly from the keyboard keys, and just by some coincidence it roughly matches up to the wooden Lego Torch, giant minifigures, and Groot. After finding the dimensions and using many pictures located on the internet, it was time to work on building the shape and look of the keyboards. I present to you in the order I created them. The MelloBrick. The original M400 was introduced in 1970, and unlike a conventional synthesizer or electronic organ, this machine generates its sound from sounds recorded on 35 individual tapes. On our MelloBrick, the cover can be removed to see the rotary wheel and the top of the tape mechanism. This instrument was used by many artists and groups, including the Beatles, Genesis, King Crimson, Moody Blues, and Yes. In 2017 and 2018, our MelloBrick featured on the album covers of Mellotron Phases 1 and 2 by Papernut Cambridge. The MiniBrick. This analog synthesizer was first manufactured by Moog Music in 1970 and was the world's first portable synthesizer. This allowed it to be brought out on stage and compete as a lead instrument. On our MiniBrick, we include the tilting front panel for easy access to the controls. This synthesizer was a staple instrument in the early 70s for the likes of ELP, Kraftwerk, Tangerine Dream, and Rick Wakeman. Other early adopters included Stevie Wonder, Herbie Hancock, and Sun Ra. Later, Gary Newman, ABBA, and Michael Jackson would also use one. The Brick 7. The DX7, released in 1983, used a groundbreaking digital technology at the time known as frequency modulation synthesis. It became the first successful digital synth and is one of the best-selling synthesizers in history. On the Brick 7, we have tried to recreate the distinctive control panel that is now devoid of knobs and sliders of older synths. Many 80s artists used the DX7, including Kenny Loggins, a-ha, Whitney Houston, Tina Turner, Hall & Oates, Chicago, Phil Collins, Genesis, and Billy Ocean. The Brickit 5. The Prophet 5 is an analog polyphonic synthesizer released in 1978. It had fully programmable memory, which allowed users to store sounds and recall them instantly. It quickly became an industry standard and pops up everywhere throughout contemporary music. We tried to emulate the wood body and trim of the original and the various knobs and buttons. It was used by Tears for Fears, Talking Heads, Kraftwerk, Michael Jackson, Madonna, Peter Gabriel, OMD, Radiohead, Phil Collins, Rick Wakeman, Pendulum, and BT, plus so many more. The Brickit 10. This synthesizer is two Prophet 5s stacked together. It was used throughout the 1980s and on into the 90s by names like Tangerine Dream, The Orb, The Who, The Pet Shop Boys, Vangelis, Genesis, The Human League, and the filmmaker-composer John Carpenter. The Brick Quadra. The ARP Quadra was released in 1978 and was really liked for its complex string sounds. We've tried to recreate the orange and black colors with the distinctive green and blue buttons. It was used by 808 State, ELO, Genesis, The Human League, Pink Floyd, New Order, Nick Rhodes of Duran Duran, and filmmaker John Carpenter. The Bricklight. Launched in 1979, the CMI was the first commercially viable digital sampling keyboard. It included a workstation, computer keypad, monitor, and light pen. Here we have recreated the distinctive beige color of the keyboard and workstation. It ushered in a new decade of musical experimentation at the hands of artists like Peter Gabriel, Kate Bush, Jeff Downes, Trevor Horn, Richard Wright, Mike Oldfield, Jan Hammer, Herbie Hancock, and Stevie Wonder. The Brick 80. The CS80 is an analog synthesizer released in 1977. Vangelis described the CS80 as the most important synthesizer in my career, and for me, the best analog synthesizer design there has ever been. This is the largest synth created so far in this scale, and it was fun to design and build the large panel of colored buttons. Other notable users of the CS80 include Tori Amos, BT, Kate Bush, ELO, Jean-Michel Jarre, Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney, Kraftwerk, Ultravox, and Stevie Wonder. The Brick J8. Released in 1981, this was the flagship synthesizer for Roland. It is known for its sturdy construction and for its characteristic sound. Here, we try to recreate the iconic look with the multicolored buttons and metal case. The J8 has been used by Tangerine Dream, Orbital, Future Sound of London, Moby, Duran Duran, Underworld, Jean-Michel Jarre, Roxy Music, OMD, Depeche Mode, Rush, Banco de Gaia, Howard Jones, The Cars, Prince, Jan Hammer, BT, Tears for Fears, Huey Lewis and the News, Journey, Toto, Yes, Stevie Wonder, and Simple Minds. The Brick OB. This massive analog synthesizer was released in 1980. We have tried to recreate the iconic horizontal blue lines that would become the standard for future products. The synth was used by Van Halen, New Order, The Police, Queen, Rush, Rod Stewart, Prince, Miles Davis, Simple Minds, and Gary Newman. I hope you liked our little exploration into brick synths. Do like, comment, and share.